Hello, folks out there watching Junction City today. This is your host, Craig Bielik. That's right, it's me. And we were laughing before we came on camera, weren't we?
You can't stop.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to keep giggling. But yes, we won't tell them what we were laughing about.
No, not well.
No.
Maybe it'll come up in the interview. We'll see. But the point is, you want to be watching because we've been doing a lot of laughing. This is a fun interview, and I am joined today with Sam DeLue, a cowboy poet.
Absolutely, cowboy poetry.
Cowboy poetry,
Yes.
and that's what we're talking about today in regards to the Cowboy Christmas, which is coming up in November down at the Ogden Union Station. You can see it right here. Sam, you're going to be part of it. I can see your name right here on the poster.
Down there, yes.
And they couldn't print it if it wasn't true.
That's right.
So you definitely are going to be there doing your cowboy poetry, right?
Myself and a lot of other talented people are going to be giving cowboy poetry as well as the music.
Right.
You know, Friday night and Saturday night, there's programs and concerts by Mary Kay and Trinity Seeley from Wyoming Way. All my friends. So this is going to be like a great big family reunion. Only all of us cowboy poets and music people, we call it a family reunion with one little stipulation.
What's that?
We actually like each other.
Oh, I was going to say no families like I know, but that's how it. I guess I want to just kind of go back to the start. I mean, why do you like cowboy poetry? How did you get started on this?
My gosh!
I mean, there really isn't a cowboy poetry school, is there? I mean, they don't offer that at the Y.
Every morning you get up, starts another class.
Is that right?
No,
I love that quote.
The cowboy poetry, gosh, goes way back before probably there were cowboys over here in the United States. They came from
what? It goes back before there were cowboys.
From across the ocean.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
all of these fine writers. The cowboys loved to read when they had a book. And the cowboys loved to recite, but they couldn't read. So they would recite some of these stories and poems that were brought over the ocean with the early travelers and early settlers. And this is where a lot of this started. As you well know, around the campfire, there's not this 90-piece orchestra out there.
No, usually not. Usually not.
You know, and Gene Autry and Roy Rogers are not there in their white hats and playing a $5,000 Martin guitar.
Right.
You know, so
that was the movies.
That was the movies, and there's a big difference.
And you're lucky if you can get a Martin for $5,000, by the way.
Now, absolutely. But what they would do when they had time was to tell stories. And when they would be out with the cattle, this part is true, they would sing to the cattle or they would recite to the cattle. The sound of the voice would keep it quiet as much as they could. There were stampedes, and a lot of people lost their lives in those stampedes. So the cowboys did learn to sing, and they did do poetry.
Really?
Now, I get into it because poetry is a way of maintaining our history and our culture. And I was raised in Blackfoot, Idaho.
Yeah.
My dad, we used to go out on the Indian res out there and ride, and my friends were Indian kids. And my first horse, my dad says, it's about time you had your own horse. I was 4.
Really? And it's about time. You know, a 4-year-old, come on, you've been riding my horse for the last 3 years.
Well, I was riding in his lap all the time or hanging onto his belt loops, and he says, here's yours. Got me a nice little quarter-horse mare. Her name was Stormy. Anyway, we would go ride. And a lot of the stories that I do, I reach back to my history, my genealogy, stories that were given to me by my mom or my grandmother. And
or true stories. Do you have
stories.
A poem about your dad giving you your first horse?
I don't, but well,
you know what?
In a way,
I'm an idea man. That's what I do here.
In a way, I do, but it's kind of a sad one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But you know, I do.
Yeah.
It's based on my dad. I have another poem based on my mother's history. Mm-hmm. You know, I tell people, you better be careful what you're doing out there in the audience because I can see you, and you may end up in my next poem.
you might be the subject of my next. The lady who spilled the popcorn, the cowboy poet.
You know, sneezed all over the neighbors. Anyway, yeah, and that's the way it works.
Yeah.
So getting
It's
into
where you get it from. I mean, you know what? This is so funny because you just covered like the next 9 questions I was going to ask.
Oh, well, ask
in
number 10.
No. I mean, we can really go on, and we are going to get to some of your work too. So everybody sit tight because I'm gonna ask you to prove it that you're a cowboy poet and recite your work. But I just wanted to learn a little bit more. What's the difference between a poem and a cowboy poem? I mean, is that a dumb question?
You know, a lot of people think cowboy poetry is an oxymoron.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. How can cowboys get good poetry?
Yeah, what are those guys?
But here again, those early European writers brought it over here, and that's what our cowboys learned from. Cowboy poetry, it's the theme or the subject matter.
Yeah.
Poetry can be anything. It can rhyme.
In my opinion, the best poems rhyme. I mean, I'm sorry to be a snob, but you know.
Thank you, because there is the controversy on free verse, and we don't go there because we don't want to argue.
Well, I'm okay. I can respect that too, but you know, to me, a poem rhymes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, rhyme and meter.
It's like a hamburger that's made of vegetables. Okay, I'm okay with vegetarian burgers, but don't call it a hamburger because it's not a hamburger.
You know, and poetry is beautiful. It's lyrical. It should have rhyme and meter. Cowboy poetry is the subject matter. We can be talking about anything from baling hay to, going on the roundup and other things. We can talk from the women's point of view of just raising a family or cooking for the crew. My mom used to talk about cooking for the haying crew when she was small.
Or being as tough as the other guys.
Right. You know, and a lot of the women of the West, which I write about a lot, were exactly that. There's one that I say, you know, she unsaddles without any help and then cooks up her biscuits and stew because she rides with her husband on the roundup.
There you go.
So she does it all. She gets off her horse, unsaddles by herself, goes over to the fire and starts whipping up supper. And that's what the women did.
How do you write? I mean, do you sit down and force yourself to write, or does it come from inspiration? Is it a little bit of both? I mean,
there's so many ways. I have one story, Best of the West in High-Rise Buns. That is the final line. I had that first, and then I had to go back and write the story, the poem that led up to that kicker. Yeah. Other ones, the one I have about my mother, I went to visit her in the care center, and of course at that time she wasn't really with us, but every once in a while she'd look up and her little arms would go, and then she'd recede back. And that night I had gone home, and there was the most beautiful, colorful sunset I'd ever seen. And you could see figures in that sunset.
Really?
And so I put those two together about the rancher's wife that sees her husband and son ride off in the morning and they never return.
Wow.
But at the very end of the story, you can see them, the figures.
In the sunset.
And they come back and get her.
Wow.
And so it can be a lot of different things. Yes, whatever. You know, and I may sit and mull on something for a long time and can't quite get it where I want it to be. Put it in a drawer, and then all of a sudden, bang something out, and there it is.
It comes back. So, hopefully you keep the drawer, organized so you can find all that.
Always have a drawer. It's called the unwritten.
Tell me about your first time performing. I mean, how old were you? What was it like?
Oh, my very first time performing, I was probably in 5th grade when I recited a poem. Loosely poem. There was no rhyme there was rhyme, but no meter.
Wait a minute. We just had a discussion. If there was no rhyme, there was no poem. Okay.
I was in 5th grade. But I won a nationalism contest.
Oh, from your first time?
Yeah. Wow. From the first poem I wrote. Wow. And then I started into just writing prose and short stories and things for creative writing, in high school. And then I went on to.
Were you afraid to perform? Has that ever been?
Yes.
I mean, you get nervous?
Yes.
You get the butterflies, you get the tinglies, all that kind of stuff?
Always.
Do you like it or do you hate it?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. It's not fright as much as it is being anxious. But we all know Don Kennington. He lived here in Ogden. He has since passed. He was my idol. He was the person I wanted to grow up and be.
So that's going to be my next question: is who are your influences, and who do you like? Who would you want to see perform?
Don Kennington, if he was alive still.
Yeah.
But he always said, "Sam, never lose that edge. that bed of whatever this is in here that's shaken is what will keep you.
Whatever it is in here. You have chest hair also, because that's what I have right behind here.
Excuse me.
when you're like whatever's in right here, that's what's inside here, guys.
Yeah, no, a little below that.
I get it. No,
you know, and he says never lose that. Never lose that. Always be just a little bit, as we call with horses, on the muscle.
On the muscle.
You'll have a horse getting ready to come into an arena, and he's on the muscle. He's ready, and that's what I akin this to, is being ready and having that edge. And it just makes you sharper in your delivery, I believe.
Wow. Well, here's the question. Are you ready? Do you have that edge? Because I want to turn the mic over to you and let you do, I don't know, whatever you'd like to do. A new one, a favorite one, an old one, better rhyme. That's all I've got to say. Because
you think?
No, we talked about this. You can do it however you like.
Okay, but, all right.
Yeah. But you want to go ahead? Okay. All right. I'm gonna have you look. I'm gonna have you look over here instead of at me. That's probably a good break from looking at me anyway. You know.
Okay.
So This is Sam DeLue, Cowboy poet. You're gonna see her at Cowboy Christmas if you come down. That's November 16th through the 17th.
Yes.
Sam's gonna be performing along with probably at least a dozen others. Bob Gurry, Thatch Elmer, a lot of other people.
And they're all from Utah.
That's great.
We have so much talent in this state, and we would love to have people come down and see us all.
Right. So do it. Here's a little sample.
Okay.
Take it away, Sam DeLue. I'm going to scoot back a little bit so I'm not in your way. I'm anxious to hear.
Watch out.
Yeah.
The cowgirl code may well be said to be the law on her homestead. The horse she rides, strides, and rides will be her own. Now this I explained to my sweetheart. Well, you've got that hoss behind the cart. His voice exudes a haughty, lofty tone. He explains the facts of life to me, that from those notions I must be free. No woman should be found among the men. A woman does the demeaning tasks and everything her husband asks, and does not speak until he tells her when. Well, to my ex-sweetheart, I explain, he really doesn't have a brain if that is how he really perceives life. This woman's worth is greater than the harebrained thoughts of that lame man, and it's no wonder that he'll never get a wife. Well, the cowgirl code is here to stay, no matter what some men might say. Each woman is now equal to the rest. So if her horses you don't saddle, and she's branding her own cattle, you've just met a real woman of the West.
There you go. I can tell you like that one. And you wrote that from the heart. From experience. You don't have to say, but
it was because I was at a gathering. I think I was in Cedar City, and a gentleman, I'm going to use that term loosely, got up in front of me, and I was following him, and he was very demeaning to the women. And I didn't care for it much, but I had nothing to come back with. So I went home and I wrote this, and the next time I was on the same set as him, I made sure I was behind him again, and I gave it.
There you go. You got one more?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Don't make me choose.
Okay.
Because
I have to look at you on this one.
You want to look at me on this one? All right, well, let's do it. I get to be part. I get to be part of this. Am I inspiration or what?
Yes. Do you know what a big windy is?
Do I know what a big windy is?
Yes.
Oh, I can't say that on camera.
Well, it is not.
Did I pass a big windy?
No.
I might have. I could have done that.
Darling, it is not what you have the morning after you've had beans and franks. I can tell you that. It's not that.
Okay.
Big windies around the cowboy campfire were tall tales.
Oh, okay.
And here again, they would sit and tell stories. And if you told one, I had to tell one that was better.
You had to one-up it.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yeah. So, no one could spin a yarn like Zeb. You'd swear all that he said was true. Just leaning back across his cack on some story he'd start to chew. Now the boys had gathered round about, all decked out for Saturday night. With ropes in hand, they'd sit or stand, anticipation at its height. Well, boys, did I tell you about my cow? Why, she'd get bad hiccups, don't you see? She'd stroll a ways, then stop to graze. Zeb leaned his arm across his knee. Now her fat and belly brushed the ground. Tall grass would tickle her udder. Now I'm not daft, that dang cow laughed. Her rich milk came out churn butter. Now her laughing caused them hiccups. Her udder squeezed between her hocks. She'd hick and squirt and then hick and spurt. Thick cream splattered sage, trees, and rocks. One time she tickled herself so we couldn't get the hick fit stopped. That cow jiggled as she giggled, convulsing till her udder popped. Well, she died, of course. We couldn't save her. She hiccuped with her dying breath. On her green lips a smile, he quips, utterly tickled herself to death.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Did you guys like that? I'm sure you did, and you can catch more of it. All you got to do is come to the Cowboy Christmas
Cowboy
at the
Christmas.
Union Station, November 16th through 17th. $5. $5 a person. You can get a family pass for 6 for 20.
For 20.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to see some more of this. You're going to do how many poems are you going to do that night?
Oh my gosh,
6?
I don't know how many sessions they'll have me in.
6? Okay.
See, we'll kind of rotate.
All right.
Probably every hour we'll have 3, 4, 5 people in that hour do what we call a round robin, and then go move to another stage and do some more while somebody takes our place. So something will be going on all day long. Starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then it goes until the shows start at night, either 6 or 7 o'clock at night, whichever show you're going to be to.
There you go. There's more information at unionstationfoundation.org. And of course, you can see Junction City today, this show, on YouTube if you want to see that again and again and again, and you probably do. So check that out. Don't forget Cowboy Christmas, November 16th through 17th. My guest today, Sam DeLue, who I think this is the first show I've ever done that had the word udder in it. I mean, really. I really do. I think this is the very first. And
You've got to get out more.
And Big Windy, I do. I need to get out more, and so do you. So go to the Cowboy Christmas. Thanks for joining us. Craig Bielik, Junction City today.